and we continue tonight. It is getting late in the night, but there is no shortage of enthusiasm and passion among the About the Child advocates here at the PJNet Live About the Child hashtag rally. And we have had speaker after speaker. You've been blessed tonight. We've all been blessed. It's not over. And we have with us a gentleman that I've had a few private conversations with in arranging this interview, and I know you're going to enjoy it. And let's bring John Killian on board right now. And John has been deeply involved in some work in the Alabama Baptist Convention, among other places. John, I don't know. I don't want to keep the introduction going. I won't leave you any time to speak. Tell us your story.
Well, I've been a conservative activist from way back, and as one who has watched one of the cornerstones of the liberal, of the progressive effort in our country is to infiltrate churches. But I'm excited at the pushback that conservative Christians are standing up and reclaiming our denominations. I'll give you an example, Dr. Mark, and by the way, I really appreciate your ministry. If you think about it, when Roe v. Wade came out, Southern Baptists endorsed a pro-choice position on abortion. Conservatives began to speak out. And by 1980, the Southern Baptist Convention came down on a position of being pro-life. And by the mid-'80s, there was no denomination, with the possible exception of Roman Catholics, who were as vocal in support of the right to life as have been Southern Baptists. I'm thankful for that. And as you and I were mentioning off the air, this year, the United Methodists did a flip. They've been pro-choice since the 70s, although I believe grassroots Methodist Christians are certainly pro-life. But now they've taken a pro-life position. Christians tend to get frustrated with their denominations. They see the bureaucracy. They see things.
We know too much. Yeah.
But the truth is, there's a real opportunity to turn the ship in the right direction and make a real difference for pro-life and pro-family causes. One issue and that's the reason we're talking today, is the concern for the child, concern for education. Here in Alabama, Alabama Baptist Convention, Alabama Baptist State Convention has 1 million plus members in a state with a little over 4 million population. So you consider it the largest organization of any kind in the state of Alabama is the Alabama Baptist State Convention. We have consistently been pro-life. We've opposed gambling. We were the denomination that pretty much led the charge, along with Free Will Baptist, Nazarenes, and some United Methodists and some others. I give credit where it's due, to block the expansion of gambling in our state. Well, 2 years ago, I was president of the Alabama Baptist State Convention, and I don't want to take credit for this, but some solid conservatives like Uni Smith and Legal Forum and Diana Cruz, who is very involved with the conference tomorrow, which you and I know about and support, proposed a resolution that passed unanimously, putting Alabama Baptists on the side of opposition to Common Core education. Now, that's a positive statement to say that we are rising up, and we're rising up on the basis of our Christian convictions to defend the child and to support pro-family initiatives. We're pro-life, we're opposing gambling, and now we're going to take our stand on Common Core education. I think that's a real positive. I'm thankful for that.
John, this is really off the script, but you kind of teed it up, and let me follow up. I bleed Southern Baptist, and I presume you do as well.
I do.
But in becoming politically activated and getting involved in the political forum, I find myself working well with our Catholic friends on the issue of life. I find myself working well with our Mormon friends. And in doing that, in contacting their leadership, I make it a point to let them know that I am proud of my Southern Baptist faith, and I even go so far as to say we have irreconcilable theological differences. Can we set those aside and work together on those things that we do agree on?
Here's the issue. As individuals, we do so. We speak out on issues. We don't necessarily have to join together in a theological cause to those with whom we would have irreconcilable differences. I think you raise a legitimate issue, but when my Catholic friend is willing to speak out for the right to life, I'm right there with him. I can remember back when we had an effort in the early 90s to expand gambling, and we had some just rank secular humanists who were animal rights activists who would not share our faith at all, but they were concerned that dog racing and gambling
is inhumane.
Is inhumane.
I was
glad to work with them. And it is inhumane.
I know.
And as a result, sometimes you find common cause with people who just may not be right where we are on everything, but we do that as individuals. Now, I may not put my church on the line in an effort that would compromise our biblical beliefs, but but it's different when it's different when you speak as an individual than when you speak as a religious organization.
Well, and that's why I phrase it, and I take this initiative in dealing with people of other faiths and leaders of other faiths, is I take the initiative and say, I'm proud of my Southern Baptist heritage, and in other words, I draw a boundary and say, us working together doesn't, I recognize we have irreconcilable differences, but I respect your faith, and I demand also reciprocity, that you respect mine. And we just agree to check that at the door and unify and work together for this issue. And it actually strengthens the issue because, for example, Common Core, you find this coalition that, and the word is coalition, but it's also a coalescing. You have people on the left with teachers' unions that are opposed to it and people on the right that are opposed to it for very different reasons.
Can I mention, you just tapped into something that I absolutely feel like I have to address. You said the left teachers' union. The average person I know who's a member of the teachers' union is concerned about bread and butter issues. And they're not necessarily wrong on that. I actually had a friend who I found out led the teachers union in his state. And he said to me, he said, I'm a social conservative. He said, wouldn't you rather have me leading the teachers union as somebody that was to the left? And I would.
I had an occasion to work with Montel Williams on an issue of a Marine that was being held in Mexico. You may remember that occasion here a while back. And I never spoke to Montel directly. I was speaking with his handler, his manager, his PR guy. And I made it clear to him, I said, you do understand that we are together on this issue for very different reasons. Montel wanted him released because, he was he had PTSD and blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's not that I don't have any concern for that, but my concern is that they should release him because he's a United States Marine and the United States asked him to.
Let me give you an example. The Alabama Baptists in particular, and again, I'm here today, I don't speak for the state convention, but I'm just giving examples. We've opposed the expansion of alcohol sales in the state, and that has included support for keeping state control. I don't know if your listeners are very aware there are control states and there are states that are not controlled on alcohol. Alabama's been a controlled state. And for that reason, we think that's been better for the state.
Tell us what you mean by control state,
well,
just for clarity.
For instance, we have what's called state stores. If you're going to sell whiskey, we want it controlled by the state.
Oh, okay.
Not just
taxed.
There have been, seriously, some real liberal groups who side with us on that. And as a result, when we were urging the petition to sign, it was a petition that was housed by MoveOn.org. Well, I get all the MoveOn emails now. I never have before and probably never will again agree with MoveOn.org. But in this one time, we did. Now, let me tell you, in Alabama, the teachers union has been on the right side of Common Core. And I say to that, God bless the teachers union. So they are not, the teachers union issues are not inherently bad.
Well,
Whereas, and that's what I've tried to tell people, don't necessarily say, well, the teachers union supports that issue. Sometimes they're getting them right, and for that I thank God.
well, here's the point.
I do think that supposed conservatives are pushing business takeovers of education and completely rooting out the voice of the teacher, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is the Common Core agenda.
Yeah. John, we're going to have to wrap it up now. Fortunately, you will have more time to speak at the Summit Conference tomorrow. We hope to be carrying that live here in this chat room from the Bears and Lords Network. John, in parting, let me say that one of the goals that we have here as PJNet is to find those areas of agreement and work together because, see, politics makes for strange bedfellows. And when you start burning your bridges because, they support this or they support that, and we kind of throw each other under the bus, or our elected officials, he voted for the stimulus, so therefore I won't have anything to do with him. Well, see, you can't build a team because you've already eliminated all of your future teammates. So it's refreshing to hear you in the position that you have held and that you hold today, affirm, that we can work together without compromising our core values. We shouldn't compromise those, but we can work together with people that have very different points of view, and we need to be hospitable, and we need to be, it says that they will know that we are Christians by our theological knowledge and our righteousness. Isn't that what it says?
Well, it's not really our mark, is it? It says they'll know us by our love. And
they'll know us by our love.
I heard a preacher say years ago, said, I'd help a drunk man kill a rattlesnake.
There you go.
Well, in all fairness, when Bernie Sanders, whom I oppose I would say from head to toe, but when he comes out for auditing the Federal Reserve, then I'm on the same side of Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take an ally in a war.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep in mind, when we had to beat Hitler,
mm-hmm.
we forged coalitions around the world with people that we didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And Winston Churchill warned us about that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Sometimes you forge allies, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Well,
thank you so much.
John, I wish we had more time. We hope to hear more tomorrow, and thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight.
God bless you, Dr. Mark.
All right. You take care.
Yes, sir.